Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Whitehouse, the founder and chairman of Conference21. Welcome to the stream. As always, we've got three great speakers on here, and I'm going to vamp for the first 90 seconds while you all find the stream. And then once you're all paying attention, then I'll hand it off to our much more interesting guests. So a reminder for those of you who do not know, these folks are all speakers at Conference21, and you can find Conference21 at conference21.com. It is this coming May 21st to 23rd. This link should now go to our new website, which was designed by, I've got to turn the right way, by Tarletta of Black Dragon Marketing, who is a sponsor of the event, creating our website and our promotional stuff, which is very exciting to have someone who's not me doing that. Always best to hire out people who are better than you at the areas where are your weaknesses. I think we're going to be talking about that, aren't we, Amy?
Yes, sir.
Segue. Set it up. So let's go around the room briefly, get some quick introductions of who these fine folks are that we are talking to. We'll go from Angelus, go around, and then Amy will start with the first topic. So Angelus, just tell us who you are, and then Steve, tell us who you are, and then Amy, tell us who you are, and start with your topic.
Hello. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. This is Angelus Perez. My company is called Success Genie LLC. My wife and I are the founders of it, and we are mindset business coaches and trainers. And we are very good at what we do.
That's good. My name is Steve Fredlund, and Vibrant Community Consulting is what we do. We have some different offshoots of that, helping specifically with small businesses, small nonprofits, but ultimately it's about community revitalization. It's about helping communities, organizations, individuals just become more vibrant, more full of life, more effective, and just trying to add to the world in that way.
And I'm Amy Flores-Young, found on social media at Amy Floyo with Transformational Travels. And I am a fully inclusive travel planner that specializes in travel for those with health needs and disabilities. I also have a specialty in ancestry and genealogy, so curated trips that are beyond the traditional group travel programs throughout Europe, so you can get something that's very specific to your family lineage.
That's cool.
And that's a lot of fun, is doing that research work, which a lot of people don't like to do. But since I love the research and the planning, and that's why, like you said, Angela, I'm really good at what I do.
I don't doubt it.
That's what brings me today to talk about my third main superpower, which is retreat planning for coaches and leaders. Concierge retreat planning, consider it done. That's our tagline. So as Michael said earlier about the conference website, why hire help and not do it all yourself? What I tell people all the time, what I do, you can totally do, but it will take you probably, and this is a lowball estimate, at least triple the amount of time, at least, if not longer. And it's the same metaphors and things that we talk about all the time. What's the true cost of DIY? Your washing machine breaks, so you go to YouTube and you Google, or you Google the model, Kenmore XYZ drum, and see what videos come up and how to fix it. And then you go down that rabbit hole. Then you have to run to the store and you get the parts, and you kind of read your blueprint through it and try to follow the instructions the best you can. And maybe you're pretty handy and you're pretty good and it works out. Or maybe it's a Band-Aid, right? And you end up MacGyvering and duct tape, and then you're fixing it another week later and another week later. So you can take that metaphor, right? We hear them all the time. You don't become your own mechanic. You don't become your own carpenter. You don't become, whatever it is. So it's the same thing with travel planning. And so many people, the internet has been lovely, but it's also been a curse, kind of like WebMD. Right? You go down and you think you know what you're reading, but you're not sure you know what you're reading. And so I just wanted to bring a little bit of insight as to how those internet searches work, what third-party booking really means, because that actually just happened this morning, I found a great deal on .com. And, and like, what does that mean? So when you book through a third-party vendor, and that is all of those .com places, that is not direct with JetBlue, Delta, the company, that third party like owns that ticket or that reservation. So, for example, and I'm just going to use Continental Airlines because they're not really in business anymore, right? So you buy a ticket on super cheap vacations.com for Continental, and then you get to Continental and they've rescheduled, or there's a COVID, or there's a cancellation. Continental can't help you because supercheapdeal.com holds your ticket, not Continental. So that's kind of the easiest way to explain it. So when the pandemic did happen, obviously all of these third-party vendor sites exploded, and people were calling the airlines and not getting the answers they needed. They were calling the third-party vendors, not getting the customer service that they wanted. So what is the true cost of doing it yourself versus having a professional assist you is not only the headache and the time, and there is that bit of knowledge of just because it looks great online doesn't mean that's what the site really looks like. Those could have been the pictures from their remodel 15 years ago that all looks new and fresh and whatever, but they haven't updated their pictures in 15 years, right? So there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with planning, especially a group trip like a retreat, where you're bringing guests in under your brand, where you want to make sure, that it's to the level that you expect and that all of those little headaches are taken care of by somebody else.
Yeah, when you're saying that, I
can summarize it.
Yeah, I got a kayak line of the Orbitz ticket to a hotel, and there was some issue. Something didn't go through, the credit card, whatever, and we're standing there at the desk, and the desk clerk's like, I can't help you. You got to call Priceline. Orbitz. Whoever.
Yeah.
It was Priceline. But, you got to call them. And so I'm calling this 800. Like, I'm standing in front of a customer service agent who can't help me. And so I'm calling some 800 number, and I'm, getting some guy in Indoslavia or something. We're there for an hour and a half to get, and it turned out that the price I got through the discount service was the same price I would have gotten walking in and going to the desk saying, I'd like a room right now. So it wasn't even a discount. It was just they stood between me and them and found me a hotel that I already knew where it was and made it so I couldn't work directly with the So they're
and imagine that
you're doing it yourself. You're actually not.
Yeah. And imagine that on a scale, especially if you're doing it not just from a vacation personal standpoint, but from a business standpoint. And you think you found this great deal. And sometimes there is a deal. And as an agent, I work with those vendors or the direct vendors, not the third-party vendors, to price match and figure that out and say, well, why is it listed as that? And then they'll explain, that price doesn't include the tax and the fees and the resort fee so you don't know what you're paying for too a lot of times until you get there. And then all of those little fees are added on, which comes out to the same price. And I'm a 24/7 person that you can call. As I am doing a retreat in Egypt. I leave tomorrow. And two of the people went earlier, and one of them arrived in Florida to go to Germany, which then she'll go to Cairo. And they were not going to let her on the plane in Florida because of the COVID testing. The timing was off because the Germany requirements changed, and they're different than the Egyptian requirements. But he was able to literally call me. We bumped her flight. She found an antigen rapid test in this dungeon testing site in Sarasota, Florida. And then she made the next flight out, and she's already in Egypt now. But imagine being in that situation and not having anybody to call. She probably would have been taking a breath and figured it out. But there's always someone here to support you and say, okay, we're going to figure this out. This is what's next, and work all of those things out. So there's peace of mind is worth every penny. And a lot of times, like Michael was saying, I end up saving you money off the base rate anyway, because if there's a promotion, or if I book for one and then I book for another and I see there's a difference, I can negotiate that and make a modification, where most people will book online and never look at it again.
So you're like Michael, who knows a guy.
Yeah.
Well,
I know
a
place. I know a place.
Yeah, there's so much.
I want to go to a place that has this. I'm like, I know a place. That's me. Yeah.
Concierge service. That's excellent. I love that. I didn't even know that existed, but that makes sense.
Yep. So Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of peace that would come from that sort of travel and having somebody that you can call. I think, I've led 4 groups to Rwanda, Africa, and I know in one of those trips we were actually going through Nairobi, Kenya, when it burned down. We were there. We were stuck for a couple of days, and we knew that it was an absolute disaster. We could tell you stories, but I think we knew that the travel insurance that we had would cover whatever it ended up being the cost with all the debacle that we had. But we didn't have anybody to call. We didn't have an interpreter with us. And it was an absolute disaster trying to figure out. We couldn't sleep at the airport grounds. It was an unbelievable disaster. So just the peace of mind, whether it's something like Africa or anywhere you're going, just to know that, okay, if something goes wrong, or if I have a question, I can just call Amy. Like, I think that peace of mind there would have been great, whether we needed it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention all the details when you're figuring out a trip like that yourself. How much headache and stress could have been saved by having somebody that just knows what they're doing there. So I think, at least from my experience, the big trips, where it's a very expensive trip with a lot of people, man, to spend a little bit of extra money, even if it might even be cheaper, but to spend a little bit more to have that peace of mind would have been well worth it.
Yeah. Customer service, like we say, that's our biggest thing, is, again, a curated experience. It's not a cookie cutter experience. And whether you're whether you're bringing 25 people to Egypt, or you're taking your family to Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's its own like master's degree, right? Figuring out, people call me all the time, like, I don't want anything to do with this. Just make it happen.
I've never even tried it. Never even wanted to.
Yeah. So and that's,
I didn't know you.
And most people might not know that working, and I can't speak for every travel agent or every travel planner. We don't travel advisor, planner, agent. It's all the same. I don't care what you call me. Just make sure you call me. I don't care what you call me.
We call it.
And then I also do, like, and it's at all levels. You don't have to wait for it to be the big once in a lifetime or huge group leadership retreat. Especially through the pandemic, I worked with a lot of families looking for something local, drivable, that might be a little more private and secluded. And it's the same thing, just saving that headache.
Has COVID made you find nuances to, these services? I mean, I think that's an obvious question, but, not everybody realizes.
Yeah, not that it's a joke, haha, but we talk about everything in my business, everything in T Travels over the pandemic has grown, except revenue, obviously, because no one was booking and traveling. We don't get paid unless they travel. That's another thing too. Everybody's like, oh, great. And we send them, like, here's a great package. And then they go and book it without utilizing us. But we don't get paid for the research. We only get paid when you book and actually travel it. So stick with your agent, please. And follow through with an agent. If someone helps you, respect that relationship. But March 2020 as an agency, March 2021 as an agency, we had our highest sales in 10 years for a month sale. Because it was because we were curating those relationships, COVID was a great opportunity to educate people on why they don't go through things. So many people got burned during those. And now with all the different protocols and trends, people were nervous to book. So they're gravitating back towards agents, which is great.
It's all about relationships.
Right. We were able to curate all those relationships. And now, like I said, we've had 2 really good months now that things are opening again.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm thinking the last time I bought a plane ticket, I was going to Milwaukee from Connecticut, and we ended up having to do a stopover. Because you're looking at these matrices on the discount on the aggregator websites, and I'm thinking I can travel a day early, a day late. I can drive up to 150 miles, whatever. And you can't always put in all the specifications. And I ended up flying from Bradley to Chicago to Milwaukee. I get there. Someone else at the conference is like, oh, you should have just gone to Logan because you paid $360 for a stopover. I paid $330 direct. And I'm like, well, it didn't show me that. So, after 3 hours, I still had the wrong answer. And I could probably have worked with an agent and, paid $310 and gone direct. But you don't know what you don't know when you're working with those sites. So yes, definitely my wife's going to be doing more traveling and probably taking us with her on some of it. So I'm definitely trying to encourage her, like, yes, there's the internet. That's cool. Don't use it. No.
I tell people that a lot. They're like, I found
you are not a travel agent.
I'm like,
yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
So our next topic that we have here is, let's see, this is Angelus' topic, right?
Sure.
Selling down the 4 M's.
Yes, the 4 M's.
All right. Angelus, tell us about the 4 M's.
Well, they came out of the simple question that everybody asked me when they know nothing about mindset. They'll come, what is this mindset thing about? And I said, well, if you make it easy, it's the psychology of success, or the art of changing your personality to align with a grander version of yourself. And I know that sounds kind of metaphysical, the last part, but all it is very simple. It's you have a way of thinking. That way of thinking was cultivated over a lot of years, a lot of decades, literally, when you were growing up. You were trained to be a functional, functional, law-abiding citizen of whatever country you're in. You were raised a certain way to produce, be functional, and give back somehow, not just taxes, but to the community that you are consuming from. And the education is grand. It spends decades. By the time you get out of college, you're all set. You're going towards your first job. You worked your whole life for this, your young life, and you're there. No problem. Then as time goes on, it's even worse when you're a solopreneur entrepreneur. So you're working like I did in the corporate field, and I decided I want to go into my own business. I just want to get out, do consulting work, freelance. Why do I have to not be my own boss? Why should I go work for somebody else when I work for myself? Not a problem. All of a sudden, mindset got in the way because all the negative thoughts got in the way. What are you doing, Angelus? You're not smart enough to be an entrepreneur. You're not skilled enough to do this. You gotta fill in the blanks. And it's all this negative crap that, wait a minute, where was this before? I didn't have this when I was going for my jobs that I went to college for. It's because my mindset was already transfixed on getting me to my job. Now I'm messing up everything by changing the plan. The mindset is a simple program like knowing your ABCs. How did you learn your ABCs? Repetitiveness over ABCD. You kept learning until you know it. And if I told you right now, do it from Z to A in a few weeks, if you do it every day, a few minutes a day, you will reprogram your mindset and you'll be able to do it just as easily backwards as you did frontwards. So it's just a different mindset. Not good or bad. But why is it so negative? Because your mindset was a simple program that you were trained to go to a job. Now you have no mindset to tell you how to be an entrepreneur/solopreneur. That'll ruin, and it has ruined a lot of my clients' beginning phase of their businesses they have acquired or bought. And they couldn't understand why it was so hard to do it. Some of them even quit and went back to their regular job. And even though they were succeeding at the regular job, and don't get me wrong, a lot of these clients that come to me, they're financially successful already. They're doing extremely well, but they're miserable. They're stroking out. Some of them had strokes, heart attacks, totally unhappy with their lifestyle because their mindset, they trained themselves young to get to that position. They changed their mind, but they didn't change their mindset. So our job is, well, at least when it comes to me, is okay, let's find out what areas of the 4 M's you're suffering in. And it always starts with number 1, mindset. It's always that. Everything to me is mindset. If you can have all the skill sets in the world, all the strategies in the world, all the resources in the world, all the money. And I've had people, big bucks, big deep pockets come to me and they're just going downhill. So it's mindset first. Then we go to marketing. Some of them are salespeople that come to me and they're wondering, Well, you love sales. Yeah, I love sales. Like, well, why don't you just try marketing and see if that works for you? Because you've done sales and you perfected it. Why don't you move on to something else and try to perfect that? And I've been told if you know how to market, you don't need to sell. Right away, they have an adverse effect to it. No, we can't do that. No. It's like, see, their mindset is already telling them they can't be good marketers. So it's always mindset first. And then we go on to money, finances. Again, you think, well, they're coming to me. They have good, deep pockets. They got an empire they created. They got a good life. I mean, you see where they live. They talk 3 fluent languages. They have 2 degrees and 1 doctorate. And I mean, they have it all. But why are they having trouble managing their money? Because just because you make money doesn't mean you're a good manager of money. So a lot of the problems is it's mindset over how they manage their money. And once we show them how to manage their money, that changes. Their life, all of a sudden, life's all back to, it's fantastic again. And then the last part, which I just kind of gave you, I just kind of mentioned it, but didn't catch on, was management. Most people don't know how to manage. Most people think management's the same thing as leadership. Kind of, but not exactly. And if you don't know how to manage yourself, meaning keep yourself accountable, if you have a staff, keeping them accountable, knowing your business model and communicating that to your staff and employees or crew, and communicating your intent on a regular basis, it doesn't matter what else you have. And it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter what your resources are. You will fail because management of yourself and your business is really number 2 after mindset. So this has been worked over like the last 25 years, working with people in executive C-suits, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. And at some point we had like 100 things you got to do, your skill sets, your mindset, but then it comes down, we were able to get it a perfect 4 M's. And it doesn't matter what you do. If you do widgets, if you're a salesperson, if you're a director of a big company, if you're a solopreneur, it doesn't matter what your company is. If you can focus on those 4 specifics and nothing else, if you are just a struggling entrepreneur, you hit pay dirt. If you're already a successful entrepreneur but totally unhappy or stroking out or having a heart attack, this will change that. And people who have come to me and told me, listen, Angelus, what is your credentials? How these people, they're heiress to fortune. They have a doctor's degree. They have a working practice. It's making good money. And they're looking at me and it's like, what is your credentials? What can you do for me? And the first thing I usually tell them, well, I'm going to do an assessment. We're going to go through the 4 M's. And after we do that, which will probably take a half an hour, if I am not the one for you, I will do 2 things for you. I will send you to somebody who I think could help you, and I will tell you my credentials. But if I can fill, I'm assuming that you were sent to me, referred to me because you got this big hole and you can't fill it with all your knowledge, with all your worldly experiences, with all your finances and resources and skill sets. I'm going to assume that you have this big hole and you're hoping that somebody will fill it. And if you think I can fill it, you won't ever ask me for my credentials again. So after the half an hour, this happened 99 times out of 100. There was one time that I referred them to somebody else. They said, now, do you want to work with me or do you want me to advise somebody else? And no, you're it. I never thought my whole business, my whole life, because it wasn't just his business, it was his social side, hobby side. Believe it or not, people need to wind down and be very, very creative. There was their spiritual side, their religious side. These are life grids that they're not paying attention to. Their relationship to their wives or their significant others or their children. Once we got them back to being with their family, everything went well. If their business was even slightly going down, having problems at the bottom line, that changed the minute they went, on vacations, took off, maybe booked with Amy here, so it's the 4 M's that helps me to get them. And then of course, after that, I tell them, listen, I'll tell you one of my credentials. I have a PhD in street smarts. That's how I learned. I've learned from people that are far smarter, more educated in myself, people that I can't hold a flame to, but I would interview them. I spent like 10 years interviewing self-made millionaires and self-made billionaires and asking their opinions. How did you get to your wealth? And after a while, it came down to the 4 M's. And so everything stems from that. So when we work with your mindset, we find out where your mindset is if you believe, here's an example of mindset. It's very simple. People don't understand. Wealth, money is the root of all evil. You heard that one, right? Money doesn't grow on trees, our parents used to say, right? In fact, it does. And you have that unconscious belief of that. You don't even know it's just running in the background. Now you're trying your very best to make as much money as you can. And maybe you get to a certain point, it's looking good, and then boom, it goes down. Try it again. You're almost, getting there, boom, self-sabotage, and you don't know why. Because you can't create something positive out of something negative. If you have a negative mindset that's telling you that, and you truly believe for whatever your upbringing, education, whatever, background, money is the root of all evil, how could you consciously go after money when you know it's going to make you evil? It's so subtle, nobody sees it. It's insidious, but it's not evil. So once we train them to replace that mindset, what if money is the root of all goodness? What if the more money you got, you could be more a philanthropist, more pillar of the community, more giving? Because money is just like alcohol. The more you have, it's giving. Whatever you are inside, it's going to make you more of that. So if you're a giving person, more money to make you giving. They love that idea. So we help them train that through NLP, which I'm certified in NLP. That's neuro linguistic programming, hypnosis for the layperson, and using repetition, like we learned when we were growing up. Once it's changed, it's like night and day. Literally overnight, I've seen people 4 hours after they've replaced the old mindset with a new, they got new clients, new business, new everything in their life. So that's what I recommend for everybody when they're coming to talk to us. We give them a taste of it and a free consultation. And if that doesn't sell them, then I have videos on my YouTube channel that kind of go more details of what the mindset is. So I said, go kick the tires, take the car around, spin, and see if you are still interested. If not, I can, again, no hard feelings. I'll refer you to somebody. I know a lot of people, like the people on this call, that can help you. And that's how we do it at Success Genie.
Yeah, I would say about the money is the root of all evil, because the actual quote is the love of money is the root of all evil, which is a huge difference. And it's, there's so many of those quotes that people live by, and they finally learn they mean like blood is thicker than water, which means the opposite of what people think it means. But it's not money. Money is just a thing. Yeah, it's exactly chasing money to the exclusion of other virtues that is the root of all evil. But you can have perfectly good rich people.
Right. Exactly. And that's the problem, Michael, when they talk, when some people do come to me and they have that concept that whatever reason that money will corrupt you, absolute power corrupts absolutely and all that stuff. It's the thing is, again, when I refer to being drinking, if you are happy drunk, you ever seen one of them? The more they drink, the more happier they are. If you giggle when you're normal, and you're going to giggle more when you're drunk. If you're a nasty person, personality-wise, before you drink, guess what? So we have to get them to the mindset that once we find out, because there's other mindsets that keep them back, but that's one of my favorite, the famous ones that come to me often. And I say, well, you have to understand that you're a good, generous, giving person, and your company can do so much good in the world. And where there is no substitute for money. I mean, there's everything else, this might be a substitute for, but where money is needed, there is no substitute. So you still need it to live. You still need it to clothe yourself, put a roof over your head, take care of your children. So how can it be bad, wrong, evil? And it's not the love of the money you're looking for. It's the love of the lifestyle that you think the money will bring you. So we educate people by training their brain to say, forget about your business. Well, I can't, forget about your business, because you're going with the idea, if I take this business and I work hard and I do all what I'm being told, that someday in the future, if you, God forbid, make it there, you'll be rewarded, fruits of your labors. You'll take that vacation. You'll do all these great things. No, we reverse it. We get you to give us your ideal lifestyle, and we force you to live it now, and then put the business around the lifestyle. And if the business is not doing well, it's because you're not focused on your lifestyle. But the minute they focus on their lifestyle, they're living their future right now, and the money's magically coming without any love for it or effort for it. It's amazing. And, that's my friends who are on the science of studying quantum mechanics. They have a scientific explanation for that, but I'm not going to, it's too in depth with this talk, but that's what we like to do. We want to get you to take a trip that you've been attempting to do for years, and I don't have time. That's a mindset. Let's do it now. And then when they come back from the trip, I've had some of my clients make more money when they took their trip. I haven't had a vacation in 10 years. They go take a vacation. They come back in a few weeks. They made more money. I said, I had one client, loved to make beer, wanted to make beer. That's all he wanted to do on his free time. We helped him to set up making beer in his basement. Now, every time he makes beer, it's a prerequisite. He said if he wants to make more money, he goes to make beer. It just, like magic, his business performs better. And I think the only way I can describe this so people understand, the brain is made up of, some people say 4 to 7 parts. I don't care. But Google it. But every part, if you give it a time to rest, another part will take over. And each part does a different thing. So let's just say this is where your family part, and this is your business part, and this is your creative part, your hobby part, this is your religion part, this is your society part, this is your relationship part. When you give the other a rest and you go to another part, so your brain is working, when you come back, that part of the brain is so refreshed, and it's taking ideas from the brain that you were just using. So a person doing something repetitively for hours has been proven. If a person's working 10 hours straight, they are not as productive as somebody's working 6 hours with breaks. It's been proven. So, I mean, have any of you come across this before?
Well, I've encountered this myself. That so for the longest time, I would have on my calendar an hour for lunch, but I'd eat, and then back to work as fast as I could. And I finally said, I've got an hour on my calendar. I'm going to take that hour. I'm going to watch an episode of Babylon 5 while I eat lunch, or eat lunch and then take a nap, whatever. I blocked out an hour. And I found that in the remaining hours, when I took that 1 hour out, I got more done by taking an hour off in the middle of the day than I did on the days when I rushed back to work. I mean, unless it was something that was very simple, because, especially if it's thinking work, if it's something like, I don't know, building a garden, then the energy savings is not going to be that much. But if it's something creative, if I'm designing websites, marketing, prospecting, anything like that, coming back recharged like it's first thing in the morning is totally worth the investment of 30 extra minutes to disengage. It's like a race car. That time in the pit seems wasted, but try not go into the pit and see if you ever cross the finish line.
And Michael, I know you will remember this. I hope you do. And forgive me if you don't. For Star Trek viewers, they will. The old one with William Shatner, they went to a planet, and the planet it read your mind. So everything you thought of, it manifested. And if you wanted to joust a knight, you joust a knight. If you wanted to fight with a samurai, you fought with a samurai. You want to pet a tiger, so on. And when they found out at the very end, this whole planet was made for our citizens to play. And then one of the commanders said, "You, as advanced beings as you are, do you have time to play?" He goes, and then Spock said it best, quote, "Yes, that makes sense, because the more complex the mind, the more the necessity for the simplicity of play." We get you to play. And in fact, the only way we will fire our clients if they don't play.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're right. The mindset is so important, but it's also, like you're saying, it's not, I mean, you can tell yourself over and over and over and over again, but you also have to believe the shift. And like you said, I'm the same way, Michael. When I take time off, because I do, when I sit still, it doesn't feel right? Like something feels off. So I have to, it's become easier now, but I had to force myself to take the breaks, take the time to be more focused and intentional in my work, which has helped in all areas.
That's so right. And with our clients, see, we try to guide them. We don't want it to be painful. In fact, if they're not having fun in the process of learning, training their brain, we won't do the course. So basically, to fight that, we get them to do it in small steps. So their brain, just what you're doing, but we do it with a reward every single time. And we show them, train your brain that changing is a good thing. And this is how you're going to do it. And we go through little exercises, but the brain doesn't like massive change.
Doesn't like change.
It hates it. And then it's like you go cold turkey. You want to, no, I can't take it. No, it's got to be painless and it's got to be fun. Every aspect, learning, training your brain, going on a trip, your family. We've brought families who haven't spoken for decades back together because our client will go out and realize that he or she had a mindset that their family caused them their pain. Their present pain is all due to them. If I can just tell them off, I'll be better. And then we realize that won't work. And you never be better. So how about talking to them and forgiving them? That's impossible mindset. And then one day it clicks. Do you forgive them now? Because, yeah, in fact, I got to give them a call because I feel so bad I haven't talked to them in 10 years. And after that call, they're coming together for the first time in a family gathering. That's the power of shifting your mindset. There's nothing wrong, by the way, I just want to make it clear, nothing wrong with your mindset. It's not good or bad. It's just a tool that you created, a program on your laptop to get you to something and do something. At some point, it's useless. It's got to be upgraded. It's no longer needed. Then you put in a new app. That's all it is.
Say Angelus. So I've got a couple of questions. So, I mean, you have these seismic shifts in mindset that I think are big for a lot of people, right? Moving from the corporate world, wherever, imposter syndrome, these things that you're talking about, these are big, like seismic shifts that we need to overcome. And then there's sort of the marginal piece of it. I'm curious if you do work on any of that or what your advice is. So I'm a poker player. I've got a poker podcast. I interview people that are actually, focused on helping mindset in the game of poker because, we don't make rational decisions if we're not in the right frame of mind. And so, one of them is really an expert in sort of that getting your peak performance, like getting that extra from 97 to 98% and how to get your mindset right there. Another one talks more about like the being present, right? Like really just being present. So maybe share a little bit about that in the context of, owning a business, running a nonprofit. How important, not those seismic shifts, but those sort of day-to-day tactical pieces.
Here's an example. I'll use one of my clients because he's one of my favorite students as well, because we sometimes have students and we have clients. There is a difference. And he's been both. All he wanted to do his whole life, the only thing he wanted to do was play golf a couple times a week. And if he can have that and maybe go to the casino and play and make some money as he's having fun doing it. Remember, make while he's having fun, not lose, because when he loses, he's not having fun. And he's saying, even if I lost, I like to make a little bit and just enjoy it. And I go, okay, so you want to play a casino and have fun at it, despite if you lose or not, but you like to win. Yes, I would like to, more often. And you want to play golf twice a week because we're going to make sure that everything you do now, your mindset's geared towards focusing on those two things, nothing else. Long story short, when he came to us, smoker, he was an alcoholic at the time, and he's no longer. He was living paycheck to paycheck at a facility that does dyes for fabrics. He was going to lose his job, but he wanted to play golf. Oh, and his heater system in January broke down. He had to take a loan he couldn't afford. So after he went through the process of changing his mindset to gear towards his lifestyle, in other words, he told him, go and play golf right now. He goes, my job is about to, kick me out, and I don't have enough money to pay my next bill, and you want me to go play golf? You're irresponsible? Go play golf. So he played golf. He kept focused on that and then went to work, focused on playing golf, and then went to the casino and went to work. By the time it was all done, he got to, he was only making about, I think, average $50,000 a year. He's now making over six figures. He never had a relationship with his family, siblings. He has a relationship with them now and his children. He's with for the first time with somebody. He's his late 50s, found the love of his life, He's already asked her to marry. He only has a high school diploma, and for the position he has as a facility manager of that company, you have to have at least 2 degrees. And get this, he's playing golf 3 to 4 times a week while he's making 6-figure income. And when he goes to the casino to play his game, he wins more often than he loses. And for the last few months, he's been winning on the average of about $2,000 a month, just having fun at the casinos for the last 8 months. And that's plus his 6-figure income job, plus 3 to 4 days a week he's playing golf. And he knows if he doesn't play golf or go to the casino, he'll never keep his income coming. So there's no big or small. If you're a person who just into sports, we've had one other person did the same thing, but they're already into sports and they love their football, but they just couldn't get to that next level. And we told him, come on in. And he said, when he was talking to me, my wife and I studied Anthony Robbins. He's another great NLP practitioner. I said, yeah, he's a master. He's done well. And he got into it because he sold his idea, same thing, to the military. That's how he started his career. I said, we're going to give you the same technique. So if that doesn't work, I tried his course, this and that. I said, that's okay. If this doesn't work, we'll send you somewhere else. Well, it did work. And now he's doubling what he used to do in his game at his least, never mind his best. And that's just game. That's not his career. I asked him, well, how's your family life doing? How's your career doing? I said, that's very strange. It's like the best ever. It's like the better I do my game, the better I do my work. I go, yeah, I know it's weird like that. Does that help, Steve? Did that answer give you a good idea how mindset helps the athlete?
Well, I don't know if we have time to get into detail. I was actually trying to get more detailed around like what does, really practicing, like being in the present, what does that work? But that's a whole nother discussion. So no, that was a good example. But I was thinking
Steve, put it this way,
how do we get into the present? And
so Steve, we have about 10 minutes left, and we can either go to your topic, or you can keep asking Angelus questions about his topic. Which would you like to do?
You're the boss, man. You're the boss.
Yep.
You tell us.
It's up to you.
It's your show.
I think you just need to go to Angelus's presentation during Conference 21. So Michael, make sure you don't schedule Steve at the same time, and that way they can connect there, and then we can chat with Steve. I want to hear what Steve's been up to.
So I would like to hear what Steve.
Let's go to Steve then. We have so we don't need to reignite momentum in this show because we're doing fine. But
right, there's momentum already. Well, I'll just do more like a discussion. Yeah, so this isn't really what I'm going to be talking about, but it sort of all overlaps with this deal. Really, this is about I'm a small business coach, work with a lot of small businesses. I work with a lot of communities, community development, community revitalization, a lot of individuals in their life and that sort of thing. And I think one of the themes is always I'm just sort of stuck, or I had momentum and then we plateaued. You know the drill. I mean, we all have that, whether it's in our careers or our relationships or whatever. And so one of the questions is always, well, how do we reignite momentum? We used to have momentum. Things used to be cranking, and now we've plateaued or we've dropped off or it's slowed down. I want to, reignite the big momentum. How do we do that? And one of the things that we've been really looking at over the last, I guess, decade or so really is this idea of building community and how that actually, the principles of building a vibrant community are really the same principles that you need to build an organization, to build a nonprofit, to build a small business. It's the same thing. It's the same idea. And I was kind of surprised by that as we really dug into this. And so when we look at how do we reignite momentum, the question is always, well, why did momentum slow? Let's start there. Before we figure out how to reignite it, why did it ever slow down? And, I can get into the whole structure of all of the different things that we do as part of an assessment. But really, the things that really stand out to me are its ownership or collaboration. Like those are generally the ways that we can really reignite momentum. And again, this is all part of the bigger picture. So I'll just prime the pump and let you guys respond. But ownership is such a critical thing. And I know, when we're building a community, we naturally think that, right? We think, okay, we want everybody bought in. If we're starting a nonprofit movement, it's a clear and compelling vision. And then people own this thing. And that's what fuels movement. That's clear. It's obvious. People don't realize the value, or a lot of people don't realize the value of that in the context of a nonprofit or a small business, or even in the corporate Fortune 500 world, which I was a part of. The value of ownership, when you get people to start changing from an individual I to a collective we mindset, when you start, I mean, that's always my biggest thing. Whenever I start something, and then at some point somebody emails me and, hey, you know what we should do? Yes, we've arrived. They said we, they're part of this thing. And I think that is usually one of the things when you say, how do we reignite momentum? It's figure out how to regain ownership. So, because usually it's waned because a leader or somebody has kind of gone with their vision and they've kind of left everybody in the dust. They haven't brought people with them. And then they just get burnt out, right? That's why we get so tired. And that's why we say, well, why aren't our volunteers doing stuff? Why aren't our staff doing this? Why aren't people doing this? Why aren't our stakeholders involved? Because they're not engaged. There's no ownership there. It all of a sudden, for some reason, now felt like your deal rather than our deal. And so that is one place to look when you're saying, how do I reignite momentum, is really do an honest self-assessment of where is our ownership level? Even ask people, and see if that's changed at all. And then the second piece is collaboration. And I think specifically for small business owners, this is a tough one, right? And whether it's coming out of the corporate world or it's just what you've been doing your whole life, we just run. And a lot of times we don't really say, how can we partner with somebody else? Yeah, maybe we hire staff. Yeah, maybe we hire a VA and they just do some of those things. But there is so much power in collaboration. And especially if you've taken your business or whatever to some level and then you plateaued, typically you can't get any further. You just can't. And I know this is kind of cliche. And people say, I'm going to work harder, or I'm just going to hire staff. And they don't build ownership with the staff. They just hire people. And so they get some stuff done, but they don't really build the momentum that they're looking for. Or they don't realize that you could just collaborate. Like, honestly, there's so much stuff that you could do with other people, with joint ventures or whatever. Just reach out and say, okay, well, what do we need to get done? Who does that? What do I do that they need? Collaborate. And it's sort of like your specialty thing, right? You guys talked about a little bit earlier. So I could get into my whole thing. I know we don't have a lot of time, but that is really when you're thinking about how do we rebuild momentum, I'd say look at yourself and ask yourself, where are we at on the ownership side? Where are we at on the collaboration side? And again, this could be momentum in your relationships, right? This could be momentum in your small business. It could be momentum in your small poker group. It could be, whatever it is, your travel agency, your conference. Where is the ownership level? Where's the collaboration level? So I'll let you guys kind of chime in with your thoughts there.
You're right, Steve. I like what you said, because that is so important. Referring to that gentleman who liked playing golf, he basically said, okay, how am I going to connect with these people? I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know how to say, well, you got to think like a leader and manage like a manager. And he didn't understand that. I said, same thing what you just said, Steve. I said, you have to start talking to them as if you're equal. Now, you have a position of some kind of manager position. Well, your job then is it's easy. You're going to be accountable. You know the business, the ABCs. And the communication, like I said earlier, you were right. He just focused on being accountable to who? Himself, the upper up, his boss, and to his staff, being there for them, not just having an open door policy, but actually then going to them and say, okay, I'm going to hold you accountable, but you're going to hold me accountable. If you see me, you give them permission. You see me falling short, going across my own line, you have to tell me. And then you're creating a better bond. Morale goes up. And then before you know it, what you're describing exactly, Steve, is what causes a company to hire individuals who they can't afford at their pay rate. What I mean by that is we went to the UI company one time and they were being laid off. When we got there, no, just prepare them to get another job. You want us to coach them to get another job? Because okay, but you're not going to keep them for any reason. No, we already told them officially, come to work, use your computer, look for another job. I'm like, wow. Okay, well, I don't believe in that. It's not my mindset. So we said, we trained them to and morale was low. They really hated coming to work. They didn't like each other, and especially the managers and the boss. But we trained them to change that mindset. They took pride in what little time they had at the company. They worked harder, not because they were told to, because they felt it was their accountability towards each other. And long story short, nobody got fired. Nobody was let go because they produced so much. The quotas were like almost 2 times more than the best in the past. And they asked us, what did you do to them? I said, I got them to love and take pride in the company where they're working more for you than you can afford, because some of these people stayed after they punched out. Some of them came in, did work, then punched in. And the company can't afford that overtime. The company will not pay for that time. They said, we don't want to be paid. We just want to, come in and support, make sure the company is doing well. The manager, the director went, and it's everything you're saying, Steve, because if you can get them to love what they're doing, they will work for you in ways that you cannot pay anybody, no matter how much you spend. You will go bankrupt in trying to get professionals to do it without you having them accountable, having them communicate to you, and letting them know this is the business structure. This is a community.
And
thank you, Steve. That was perfect.
And
That
Steve,
helped.
as far as like the joint venture piece, I think sometimes as small businesses, we get caught up in the competition or we do the same thing. And I don't want to, it was interesting. I reached out to someone that I had met in a Facebook group, a networking thing where we do very similar work. She has a huge retreat based group. And we finally connected today, just this afternoon. We finally connected with a really quick phone call, and come to find out she kind of runs more of a training on how to do your retreats. So in some ways I would be like, well, she's doing this whole course so people won't need me. She's training them. And then as we talked, she said that she's like, I want to educate. I don't want to do the back end stuff anymore. She'd been a traveler, so by taking the, I don't want to say risk, but taking the risk to connect and really find out what she's working on, she was actually working on transitioning out of the organizational role and moving into more of the greater education. And you're right. Some people are going to take that, like I said earlier, and be able to do it themselves. Some people are going to be able to take that training, get a realistic expectation, realize they don't want to do it themselves, and need someone like me. So we are going to next, like she's not ready to launch yet or whatever, but now we already have that connection where I'm going to be able to support her educational piece with like as in the field feedback. And she's going to be able to offer another layer of support for her clients and her students. Absolutely. And then she'll be able to offer me through that relationship, potential lead generation. So you're right. It's like, don't be afraid to reach out to competitors, similar or different, like you're.
I think that's huge. I mean, because you have this natural way of working together. All ships rise. Mindset piece. Get rid of that scarcity mentality and say, all right, let's do this thing together. Even if they are a direct competitor, well, just because you don't recognize that they are doesn't mean they're going to go away. You might as well reach out and see if there's a way to do something and find your niche and say, all right, well, let's do some things together. We both have a network.
And that's what a lot of people too. They feel like, oh, well, they're a direct competitor, but they might be a direct competitor. But what happens when they're full?
Correct. No, that's 100%. I have somebody that I know that's an architect. He said, well, I don't want to connect with those people because, whatever. Like, okay, well, what are they going to do when they are full? They're going to be looking for somebody that's going to need some help with that sort of thing. And you can be there to catch that lead. Like, how hard is it to get things? So I think, at the end of the day, I think collaboration is so huge. And I know it takes a little bit of time, but it does grow your business. It does accelerate your business in pretty huge ways.
Well, actually, so I similar to Amy's that. So I'm expanding into relationship coaching. I mean, honestly, the coaching that I've been doing for 20 years that got me into formal coaching was mostly relationship coaching, a bit of mindset stuff. And then, of course, I got into business. I'm like, business coaching because business. And the more I've done, I'm like, I think really relationships is where that's what I've been doing for a decade, 2.5 decades. And I have a lot more experience in relationships than business because I've been doing relationships longer than I've been doing business. So, and I've seen it done every wrong way possible and a few of the right ways.
And that's who I would send my client to if I feel that, okay, they're suffering in the relationship department. I have a lot of coaches that are on my Rolodex that I will send them to because everybody does something differently, a little better.
But what was great was, so I joined a relationship advice group on Facebook just to kind of, because you have constant people asking for advice, and it's a great place to practice rapid fire. And it's like, yep, I still got it. But then I joined another group, and the first person I connected to that group was another coach who seemed to do something similar to me and was better at the marketing side. So my first thought is, I don't have anything to offer this guy because he's doing what I do and he's better at it. And then the more we talk, the more he says, well, I know what to do, but it's really hard to keep myself motivated and stay on task. And I really like to have a partner with anything I do because then I'm accountable. We keep each other accountable. And then he's like, yeah, I can't coach relationships at all. I've been divorced a few times. That's not my gig. I hate doing relationships, but you can, which means you could be the person doing the product. I can do the back end work and figure out how to put it together, and we can collaborate. And I'm thinking, half of something's better than all of nothing. So let's get into this. And so, yeah, we've been on the phone 4 or 5 hours in the last 2 days, I think, diving into this. And it's because, and part of it is both of us walked into this and said, I'm here to give. I'm not worried about, because that's it with a lot of people go into business and they're like, well, I got to have a contract to be ready to make sure I don't get screwed. And yeah, if you're investing $7 million in a project, you better have the lawyers ready. But if it's, I'm putting in some time, you're putting in some time, I'm putting in some skills, you're putting in some skills, then you go in to give, both people go to give. If it doesn't work out, you walk away and you've wasted a little bit of time. Sure. But you have a much better chance of winning the collaboration if you both go in to help each other as opposed to what can I take? Exactly. And it's much easier too. So, if I get screwed in the collaboration, but it's certainly better than getting screwed in your head for the entire duration of it.
Yes.
Eventually,
you miss all the chances you don't take, right?
Yeah. Wouldn't you rather live believing everything's good for the longest time?
Yep.
It's called, in my company, we call that the dream team. We have other people that are similar, but they have a special niche, speciality that I like. My wife and I are coaches. My wife and I are mindset coaches. So when people come to us, do we just flip a coin? No. I work more on the mindset and the strategy, while my wife will work more on the marketing and business plan. So some people will go to her and never come to me, and vice versa. Others start with her and finish up with me, or vice versa. So we have a distinct differences, even though we have the same title. So we're not the same. So go out there and find all the coaches you can find. Take them to dinner, and I bet you're going to find your dream team where, oh, great, you're into systems? Great, I hate systems. I'm going to send them to you when I'm finished with them.
I know I've got to run, but just the last part of the collaboration too is, I think, don't worry about having it be a perfect thing right away. It doesn't have to be a big comprehensive thing. Test drive people a little bit. Maybe that's your point, Angelus, is test drive people a little bit. Let's do a little something together and just kind of see how it goes. What kind of vibe did you get? You don't need to come up with a contract and 15% and all that kind of, just do something together. And then, hey, let's do a talk together or something, and then just kind of see where it goes. Let it evolve kind of organically. That's worked best for me in the past.
Right. Share the wealth. There's more than enough for everybody. There's no reason to be like hoarding it. Right, Steve? Thank you.
It's definitely true. All right. Well, so you can find out what everyone's talking about at conference21.com, or if you go to conference21.online/C21B, that'll actually give you all the speakers. I need to set up the link there. And we should have a schedule. I think Steve, you're asking about that. Or someone was asking. We should have the schedule up in the next few days as soon as I get around to making it. So now we'll have the schedule, but need to make sure Steve and Angelus are not at the same time. But thank you all for being on the show. And ordinarily I go around and ask everyone what you'd be talking about, but it's already 3:04. So I'll let you all go. But people can go to the website and find you there, and just come to the conference, and you'll be pleasantly surprised to hear what they're all talking about. So thank you everyone for being on. And our next weekly roundtable is Tuesday at 7 p.m. So join us right here for that.
Have a great weekend.
Nice to meet you guys.